Hi everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at why Joe Biden won the presidency, and this will be a dive into the real underlying factors that caused this to happen. Something that's sometimes missed that, oh well, Biden won because he won Georgia, right? Or Biden won because he flipped Pennsylvania, right? That's not really what we're looking for. We're looking at overall national trends as to why Joe Biden won. So the first major trend is COVID-19. And if I were to bet, I'd say if COVID-19 never happened, or if Trump had handled it well, then he'd be on his way to re-election. But that isn't what happened. COVID-19 was a major pandemic, obviously still is a major pandemic. We're hurtling towards 150,000 cases by Christmas. COVID-19 is currently the biggest issue of importance to voters in the 2020 election. And it was a major beneficiary for Joe Biden. And again, if COVID never happened, if it was contained within China, I reckon that Trump would probably be sailing to re-election right now, given the margins in some of these states. So in regard to COVID-19, Joe Biden, he didn't necessarily release that many major plans. He mostly talked about how Trump failed on the response to the coronavirus. And that's a very strong talking point for the Biden campaign, because Trump did fail on coronavirus, and objectively, they did not do well. I mean, over 100,000 cases on election day, hurtling towards 150,000 cases by Christmas and the New Year. Unless a vaccine comes in ASAP, we're going to be getting up to 200,000 cases a day right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if, in February with the Republican Senate, Biden can't really do anything. There's no vaccine. By February, we might even be at 200,000 cases. And just that outlook made it very, very difficult for Donald Trump. And that was pretty much his major problem. COVID-19 was a major issue in the election. He failed on it. He couldn't say that he did a good job. And the talking points that he tried to use to defend himself, or even go on the attack on Biden with regard to COVID, just didn't land, because he was the president, he was in charge, and he failed on COVID. And Biden campaign was able to effectively use that talking point. Trump failed on COVID, wear a mask, practice social distancing. He didn't take a definitive position in terms of lockdown, of the country again. But it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, because right now COVID-19, I reckon, was the major thing that put Biden over the edge. Again, if it didn't happen, I don't think that Trump would be going to lose this election. The second main reason, if it's going to load for us, not loading right now, unfortunately, so let's just move over there. Okay, the second major group in terms of handing Biden the victory was the age group 45 to 64. And this seems, might seem a bit strange, because 45 to 64 was an age demographic that actually still, I believe, voted for Trump. But what Biden was able to do, and this is a very similar story among all these demographic groups, is he was able to really cut into the margins and cut into the margins where Trump was able to win. So 45 to 64-year-olds, a major situation where Biden did well in. Young voters, oh my gosh, this was so key to Biden's victory. Everyone says young voters, they don't turn out. And that's been true up until now. Young voters turned out in a record number for Joe Biden, and he was and the young voters that supported Biden's campaign, really to just get Trump out of the White House. They deserve a lot of credit for handing Biden the victory. Young voters in states like Arizona, states like Georgia, states like Pennsylvania, they really, really helped Biden come out over the top. And I reckon if young voters was at the same turnout, then again, you might see a repeat of 2016. So young voters was a major, major beneficiary for Joe Biden. He didn't necessarily increase his percentage-wise margin, but he was able to get out the vote in terms of young voters, and that was really, really beneficial, especially in some of these key states, and also handing Biden a really strong popular vote victory. That's another thing that young voters were able to do very effectively. Fourth category, and again, slideshow's not working right now. The fourth category we're going to be discussing today is a united Democratic Party. So when I say united Democratic Party, I really mean united. And, the Democratic Party is a big tent party, There's lots of differing viewpoints on how to lead the party, from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to Joe Biden to Joe Manchin. The Democratic Party is very, very broad, which means it's very difficult to unite the Democratic Party. That was something they weren't able to do in 2016 or in 2008. If you remember, in 2008, about 25 of Hillary Clinton's supporters actually voted for John McCain in the general. And Biden, and obviously Obama won for other reasons, but it wasn't necessarily the case that the Democratic Party was all united. But this year, they really were united in handing Biden a victory. All of the Democratic Party came together. There's lots of differences in the Democratic Party, and now that Biden's elected, those will be fully exploited. I am sure they already have been starting to be exploited. See Ocasio-Cortez and Abigail Spanberger going at it, and centrist and progressive blaming each other for House losses and where to take the party in the future. That's going to happen, but just to get Biden in, everyone realized that, Trump is a major threat to the democracy, and they all united to deliver Joe Biden a victory. Everyone came together despite policy differences and just saw, what? This is bigger than those differences. This really is about removing Donald Trump. Ocasio-Cortez thoroughly endorsing Biden. Bernie Sanders campaigning for Biden. Elizabeth Warren getting out there. And then you've also got, the standard Democrats coming out there. Obama came out there towards the end. You saw pretty much all the House delegation going full throttle behind Joe Biden. Then obviously you have, all of the usual centrist Democrats. I don't need to go down the list here, but Dianne Feinstein, for example. Obviously all these people. And then also you had the right-wing Democrats and even some crossover Republicans coming to support Biden. So it was a very big tent. You had, people like Joe Manchin, again, basically a Republican, votes with Republicans 66% of the time, I want to say, in the run-up to his election. So pretty much you could classify him as a moderate Republican. And then, obviously, you also have people like John Kasich coming over, people like Mitt Romney not endorsing Trump. You have a lot of people who are just coming over and just, this is bigger than those divides. It really is about removing Trump. And that was one of the things that everyone came together. Everyone held the line. No one really bucked the trend. And I think that was really, really critical in delivering Joe Biden the victory. And that really is one thing that I think is very important in terms of moving forward for the Democratic Party, to have that kind of united Democratic Party. Trump was, and then this is the last and final reason we're leaving why Trump was competitive for another time, but the Trump unpopularity was another major situation. as to why Biden was able to win. His personal unpopularity was record high, and that's one final thing, maybe a bit less than the others, but one final thing that delivered Trump a victory. And I would like to add, in terms of how Biden won, all of the kind of, normal meat and potatoes Democratic kind of issues. Healthcare was critical, education also very important. And so you could run down the list of the Democratic priorities: wealth inequality reform, another critical issue. So the Trump unpopularity is a major thing to deal with, and yeah, that is why Joe Biden won. That's pretty much it. Those are my 5 main points why Joe Biden was able to win this election. So that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Good night.